ground rod installation should consider several factors to meet and exceed electrical code requirements. Firstly, regarding the distance from the foundation, position the ground rod 6 to 10 feet away from the exterior wall of the building. Secondly, consider the size of the cable to the rod. Use either number 6 copper or number 4 aluminum wire. To make the connection, use a ground rod clamp to securely fasten the cable to the rod. Drive the rod into the ground to a depth of 8 feet. Regarding grounding systems, multiple connections are allowed. NEC 250.53 C permits multiple grounding electrodes, therefore you can connect to both the water pipe and the ground rod. Make 2 separate runs from the load center, also known as the breaker box, one to the water pipe and another to the ground rod. The 3/0 neutral is not a grounding conductor. It provides a return path for current but does not serve as a ground. Run a separate ground wire to both the water pipe and the ground rod. NEC 250.53 It requires that the grounding electrode system be installed for service entrance conductors. This system must include a minimum of 1 ground rod or other approved electrode. NEC 250.68 It requires the grounding electrode system to be connected to the grounding electrode conductor, which is a green or bare copper wire in the service entrance equipment. Here are some additional tips. Use a voltage tester to ensure that the ground is properly connected. Protect the ground rods from corrosion by using a conductive coating or by driving them into moist soil. Label the ground rod and water pipe as electrical ground only. Contact your local building inspector for any additional requirements or permits. NEC 250 covers grounding and bonding requirements for electrical systems. It aims to create a low impedance path for fault current to return to the source, which facilitates the operation of overcurrent protection devices like circuit breakers or fuses. Grounding helps to minimize voltage surges from lightning or other transient events, reducing the risk of electrical shock and equipment damage. The grounding electrode system typically consists of 1 or more grounding electrodes, such as ground rods, ground plates, or metal underground water pipes. These electrodes are connected to the electrical system's grounding bus by using a grounding electrode conductor. The size of the grounding electrode conductor is determined by the size of the service entrance conductors, as specified in NEC Table 250.66. The grounding electrode system must have a resistance to ground of 25 ohms or less. If a single grounding electrode does not meet this requirement, a second grounding electrode must be installed at least 6 feet away from the first. Ground rods should be at least 8 feet long and driven into the ground vertically. If rocky soil prevents vertical installation, they can be buried horizontally at a depth of at least 30 inches. Ground plates must have a surface area of at least 2 square feet and be buried at least 30 inches below the surface of the earth. Metal underground water pipes can be used as grounding electrodes if they are in direct contact with the earth for at least 10 feet. However, a supplemental grounding electrode is also required when using a metal water pipe as a grounding electrode. Bonding is the process of connecting all non-current carrying metal parts of an electrical system together to create a low impedance path for fault current. This includes metal enclosures, raceways, and equipment frames. Bonding helps to minimize voltage differences between metal parts, reducing the risk of electrical shock. Bonding jumpers are used to connect metal parts together. The size of the bonding jumpers is determined by the size of the circuit conductors, as specified in NEC Table 250.102. Equipment grounding conductors, also known as EGC, are used to connect the metal enclosures of electrical equipment to the grounding busbar. EGC provide a low impedance path for fault current to return to the source. The size of the EGC is determined by the size of the overcurrent protection device, as specified in NEC Table 250.122. Ground fault circuit interrupters, also known as GFCIs, are devices that protect against electrical shock by monitoring the current flowing in a circuit. If the current flowing out of the circuit differs from the current returning by more than 5 mA, the GFCI will trip, cutting off the power to the circuit. GFCIs are required in areas where there is a high risk of electrical shock, such as bathrooms, kitchens, and outdoor locations. Grounding and bonding are essential for electrical safety. Proper grounding and bonding can help to protect against electrical shock, equipment damage, and fire hazards. Always consult with a qualified electrician when installing or modifying an electrical system. They can ensure that the system is properly grounded and bonded according to the NEC and local codes. When connecting to a water pipe, be sure to connect on the street side of the water meter or install a jumper around the water meter. This ensures that the grounding path is not interrupted if the water meter is removed or replaced. When driving ground rods, be careful not to damage any underground utilities. Call before you dig to locate any buried cables or pipes. Use a ground rod driver to make it easier to drive the ground rod into the ground. A ground rod driver is a tool that attaches to the top of the ground rod and allows you to hammer it into the ground without damaging the rod. When connecting the grounding electrode conductor to the ground rod, use a listed grounding clamp. Make sure the clamp is compatible with the size of the grounding electrode conductor and the ground rod. Tighten the clamp securely to ensure a good electrical connection. Protect the grounding electrode conductor from physical damage by running it in conduit or using a protective covering. Label the grounding electrode conductor at both ends with the words grounding electrode conductor. This will help to identify the conductor and prevent it from being accidentally disconnected. When installing a supplemental grounding electrode, make sure it is located at least 6 feet away from any other grounding electrodes. This will help to reduce the resistance to ground of the grounding electrode system. Use a ground resistance tester to measure the resistance to ground of the grounding electrode system. If the resistance to ground is greater than 25 ohms, install additional grounding electrodes until the resistance is below 25 ohms. Keep records of all grounding and bonding work that is performed. This will help with future maintenance and troubleshooting. Grounding and bonding are complex topics. If you have any questions, consult with a qualified electrician. In residential services, the neutral conductor is connected to the grounding electrode conductor at the service equipment. This connection is called the main bonding jumper. The main bonding jumper ensures that the neutral conductor is at the same potential as the grounding electrode system. In commercial and industrial services, the neutral conductor may be separately derived. In this case, a separate bonding jumper is required to connect the neutral conductor to the grounding electrode system. Surge protective devices, also known as SPD, are devices that protect against voltage surges. SPD are installed at the service entrance to protect the entire electrical system from surges caused by lightning or other transient events. SPD should be connected to the grounding busbar. This ensures that the surge current is safely diverted to ground. Isolated ground receptacles are used in sensitive electronic equipment to reduce electrical noise. Isolated ground receptacles have a separate grounding conductor that is isolated from the building's grounding system. This helps to prevent noise from the building's grounding system from interfering with the operation of the equipment. Equipotential bonding is the process of bonding all metal parts in a specific area together to create an equipotential plane. This helps to reduce the risk of electrical shock in that area. Equipotential bonding is commonly used in swimming pools, spas, and other wet locations. The NEC provides specific requirements for grounding and bonding in different types of occupancies, such as residential, commercial, and industrial. Be sure to consult the NEC for the specific requirements for the type of occupancy you are working on. Local codes may also have additional requirements for grounding and bonding. Be sure to check with your local building inspector to ensure that you are meeting all applicable codes. Grounding and bonding are essential for electrical safety. Proper grounding and bonding can help to protect against electrical shock, equipment damage, and fire hazards. Always consult with a qualified electrician when installing or modifying an electrical system. They can ensure that the system is properly grounded and bonded according to the NEC and local codes. The grounding electrode conductor should be continuous and without splices or joints. If a splice is necessary, it must be made using a listed splicing device. The grounding electrode conductor should be protected from physical damage. If it is exposed to physical damage, it should be run in conduit or other protective covering. The grounding electrode conductor should be securely fastened to the grounding electrode and to the grounding busbar. Use listed connectors to make the connections. The grounding electrode conductor should be accessible for inspection and testing. Do not cover it up with drywall or other building materials. The grounding electrode system should be tested periodically to ensure that it is functioning properly. Use a ground resistance tester to measure the resistance to ground. If the resistance to ground is too high, additional grounding electrodes may be required. The grounding electrode system should be maintained in good condition. Repair any damaged or corroded components. Keep the grounding electrode system free from dirt, debris, and other obstructions. Grounding and bonding are complex topics. If you have any questions, consult with a qualified electrician. Always disconnect power before working on any electrical equipment. Use a voltage tester to verify that the power is off before touching any wires. Wear appropriate personal protective equipment, such as gloves and safety glasses. Follow all safety precautions when working with electricity. If you are not comfortable working with electricity, hire a qualified electrician to do the work. The electricity can be dangerous. Take all necessary precautions to protect yourself from electrical shock. Be aware of the potential hazards of electricity. Know how to recognize and avoid electrical hazards. Follow all safety rules and procedures. Grounding and bonding are essential for electrical safety. Proper grounding and bonding can help to protect against electrical shock, equipment damage, and fire hazards. Always consult with a qualified electrician when installing or modifying an electrical system. They can ensure that the system is properly grounded and bonded according to the NEC and local codes. Remember to consult the latest edition of the National Electrical Code NEC for the most up-to-date requirements. Electrical codes can change, so staying informed is critical for safety and compliance. Always prioritize safety and seek professional help when needed.